Learn how to manually set what this refers to using call method. In this example, we want to look at explicit function binding in JavaScript objects together. Before we start creating code, for this example, there is something that I want to quickly talk about. Though we are going to use it in the code creation, but then I want to point to it. And it is this call method that we have in step 3. Now, if you look at this comment that includes the steps in order to build this example, you will see the first one: create object person1 with method, create object person2 with data, use call method to run method, pass person2 as the store result and display result. Now, this step 3, which is use call method to run method, I want to explain what it's going to do in this example. Now, call method lets you choose which object should you point to when running a function. When you used this keyword, it does not only return values of an object, it instead points to the object itself. But in this case, we want to be explicit with what should be returned for the value of this. And that is where this call method comes in. So we are going to use this call method in order to choose what this should point to in our object. Which of the objects, because we are going to be having two objects, as you can see in the step 1 and 2. So we want to use the call method to control which of the objects should be returned when we run the function. And that is what we are going to do in this example. So let's go ahead and then quickly create what we have here in the comment. So the first says create object person1 with method. So I'll go ahead and make person1 object const person1, and inside it I can add a full name, and this full name is going to be a method. Inside that person1 object, return this to first name, this dot last name. Now, this is person1 object with method. You can see this is the object part and this is the method part inside it. Now, create object person2 with data. So I can say I want to paste it, object person1 with method. And the next one is to create object person2 with data. So inside this place now, I can make person2 and then add data to it. What is going to be the data? Where data is simply just going to be first name and then last name. So now I have my data, as you can see here. So what happened next? Well, the step 3 says use call method to run method. So how do you actually use the call method? Well, let's find out. The way you use the call method, can you guess for 2 seconds? Okay. So the way you use the call method is this. You first need the object name, and you as well need the method that you have inside your object, and now use the call method in order to accept the data that you want to pass inside your method. So this is what I'm saying. Your object first, person1, then you need the method, and then you now use the call method here, and then pass in the data that you want to pass inside your method. You know, this is the object that contains data, and this is where we have the method. But this currently has no data. We now want to attach data to it, and that is why we need the call method. Then we'll just pass in that person2 object as the data that needs to be passed to the method. And now that I have this, I can just go ahead and then store the result. How do you do that? Let me represent it by hex this way. And now that I've stored result, it's now time for me to display the result. But before I display the result, let me quickly make a simple explanation about what we have here. You see, the person1 dot full name is defined, and the full name is the method. Now, person2 has first name and last name. Now, this call method is what is running the function, as you can see. And how is it running the function? It's calling the method, and the method is what holds the function inside person1. Then this keyword that we have here, this dot first name, this dot last name, becomes person2, because we are already passing person2, which contains data, into this method. Then function now, which we have here, is now going to make use of this person2 data, which is Amanda and Amy. And from there, you can go ahead and display results. So let's now go ahead and then display the results. Document.get element by id dot era html is equal to x. So, and now you should see Amanda, Amy. So the key concepts we just learned in this example are this. Number one, the call method sets this manually. You can see that we explicitly pass the object that we want to update into our call method. For example, let's say we have another person3 object like this. And this one also has maybe something like age 50, ID 5556, country Ghana, or anything. Now, what do you think is going to happen if I pass in person3? Before I explain what will happen, let's just find out first. Now you can see undefined, and that is because we don't have this method already defined inside our person1. But if I do something like this now, if instead of first name, if I should change this to this dot age, this dot id plus space again, and then this dot country. Now take a look at this. You can see that all the properties of person3 are now showing correctly. So what made this possible? We were able to explicitly tell JavaScript that this is the object that we want to call. And we're able to do that with the help of the call method, which is what you can see here. So I will revert back to the initial example that we have been talking about. So person2, and then you can see it returns back what we already have in our code. So the method here belongs to person1, don't forget, but we use call in order to run it with person2. So this that we have inside method becomes person2, and it now uses its data. Now, call method gives you full control over this, making your functions reusable and dynamic. You see, when I added another example for the objects, you see how it was easier to easily just change content and update the data value. So this is what makes explicit bindings to have flexible function reuse across different objects.